So guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are here to review the round that was for AFL Fantasy, round 3 of course, and not gonna lie, I think I had a pretty decent week. 1838 with a couple of players having a pretty down week. I'll take that. My ranking for the round was 21,000, so actually not that good. I thought I was a little bit better than that. My overall ranking has got better though. I have jumped just above 10,000th, so not too bad. Now looking at my team, Max Holmes, brilliant performance. Has had a not the greatest start in my opinion, but 119, I'll 100% take that. Clayton Oliver with the 108, Will Ashcroft with the 115. Brilliant performances from both of them, and Will Ashcroft, thank fuck he started to do a lot better because he had a pretty down start with the first couple of games, but since then he has definitely improved. Nathan O'Driscoll, thank God I picked him, not Mitch Nevitt. Of course, if you don't know, Mitch Nevitt was picked as a sub for the Cats last week. He was the mid-price player that people have been going with O'Driscoll, but O'Driscoll was the 199. He's been brilliant so far. De Koning with the 130, great job from him. Bailey Smith, Caleb Daniel, Jack McRae, all of them done really well. Looking at a highlight and a low light on the rookie players, Sam Davidson, top scored for my team, I think. Yeah, he did 125, Sam Davidson, out of nowhere. A lot of people weren't able to loophole him, but what a performance from him. He was brilliant off that wing for the Bulldogs on Friday night, and great performance. Unfortunately, on the lower lights though, Xavier Lindsay did get injured. He only played the first quarter and unfortunately was subbed out. Now, there is some good news for that. He didn't do a bad ACL. He didn't do a bad knee injury, which is good sign. So hopefully he will be okay in a couple of weeks, they're saying. I think that he could be a chance for this week. However, I'd be very unlikely on that. So looking at a couple of lower lights on my team, brought in Sam De Koning this week. Disappointed by his performance, only got 66. He did get subbed out in that game, so he may have done a little bit better, but at the moment, not the greatest. Connor Rosie, I'm happy that he got to 84 because halfway through the third quarter, it didn't look like he was going to get past 60. So 84 I'll take, but disappointing performance from him. Jordan Dawson, a game against North Melbourne where I thought they should have done a bit better. 85 as my captain, not the greatest. Jason Horne-Francis and Riley Sanders, two guys where I thought were going to be absolutely brilliant this year, have really under-delivered. So maybe in the next couple of weeks, I may look to get rid of either one of them. I'm kind of trying to look for cash cows at the moment to try and have that cash there towards the middle part of the year. But at the moment, both Horne-Francis and Sanders need to lift. Max Gawn as well, after a really good performance in round 1 against the Giants. He's kind of dropped off a little bit. Simon Goodwin chucked him under the bus, so I don't know if that's playing a factor in his game at the moment. But yeah, not the greatest from Max Gawn as well. Now, on the reserve side, Ted Closey, 44. I thought he would have done a bit better than that. He had a really good performance as the sub who came on early for the injury to Tom Stewart last week. Then he comes in the game against Brisbane Lions and unfortunately got 44, so I was a little bit disappointed by that. Same with Isaac Kako. I don't know if I should get rid of him this week. I'm looking at the trades. I have made my trades. I will talk to you about them in a minute, but that's a real interesting one, Isaac Kako. 40, didn't score a goal, so they do have favourable matchups in the next couple of weeks after their bye, Essendon, so I'm waiting to look at that, but 40, again, hasn't done too well since, so we'll have to just wait and see. But looking at my brother's team for this week, he got 1,821, so he got lower than me, so I'm really climbing the ranks now. I'm just jumping over the top of him. He doesn't really know what he's doing. His rank was 27,000, so I think that's 6,000 lower than me. But his overall ranking is 2,011. So after a really good start, he's tapered off a little bit. I still think he's doing a lot better than me, of course. But yeah, he has dropped off a little bit. Looking at his good players, he did have Jaden Shorter got 101. Nan Curvis did get 97, which is okay. And that's pretty much it. That's really all he's done well. Max Hall did score well, but he couldn't get him into his team. He did get Sam Davidson into his team somehow, but other than that, really didn't do that well. And then a lot of lower light performances. He did bring in Kane Farrell. He only got 61 in the end. Petrarca played a little bit up forward for the Demons. He only got 80. He did have Xavier Lindsay. He did have Peatling as well. He did try to get rid of him, but he changed that trade around. He got 79. He had the problem with Horne-Francis and Sanders as well. So had a couple of issues that are similar to me, but then also had a couple of other ones that had his score be dropped a little bit further down. So let's get to our trades. So my trades at the moment for this week are James Leake out for Riley Bice and Finn O'Sullivan out for Moraes at the Port Adelaide. Bice, I would have got him in last week, but Sydney had the buy, went with the Zach Reid of the moment and James Leake. There's not really any point making that trade at that moment anyway, so I needed to fix up some other parts of my team. But Riley Bice looks like a really good prospect for Sydney, was a mature age recruit from Werribee and really likely type for Sydney. I really like the way he looks. I think he's going to be playing off that half-back role. And it looks like there's a spot for him there. So I think he's definitely a lock at the moment. And Finn O'Sullivan, he's a high draft pick. He's obviously for the future for North. Doesn't look like he's going to be a high disposal getter, though. Looks like he's a lot more about impact. So doesn't really it's not really an AFL fantasy recruit, I've kind of come to realise. But Moraes, 93 in a losing side for Port Adelaide. I think they'll be playing a couple of younger guys in the next couple of weeks, and Moraes was brilliant. So definitely got a lot of touches on the outer wing throughout the majority of the Thursday night contest. Little bit less cash than Finn O'Sullivan, but I've banked up 198k at this stage, so I think that's pretty decent. And I think in the next week or so, I'll be looking to get rid of either Sanders or Horne-Francis, and that's going to be my change to upgrade. Probably my first upgrade trade of the year. But, of course, with me saying a moment ago with Isaac Kako, I may change the Finn O'Sullivan trade, well, slightly, and get rid of Isaac Kako instead, because they do have the bye this week, Essendon. However, I do, like I said, Essendon do have a favourable draw in the next couple of weeks after their bye, which I do see Kako potentially getting multiple goals in, which I think can upgrade his score just a little bit more. Both prices of both of them are starting to peter out. They're still gaining in price, but not a lot. So I think at the moment I'm going to stick with the Finn O'Sullivan out, but maybe if a couple of players are outs in the team changes through later in the week, I may change that trade. And my brother's trades for this week are Kane Farrell out for Matt Roberts and Isaac Kako out for Bice. So he is completely 180 that trade on Kane Farrell. Got rid of Roberts for 1 week and then changed that around. He said that was a massive mistake. So Farrell is out for Roberts, and he's done basically the trade that I was going to do with Kako out. He brought in Bice. I think he's put him in as the utility sub at this moment. So I don't mind that trade either. And looking at it next week, that's probably where he's starting to move to look to get rid of Peatling. He's had to keep him in the team all this time. I'm sure he wants to get rid of him at this stage. And there's probably not a lot of other changes he needs to make. But one thing I would say about his team is his reserves at the moment really aren't gaining in price. He's got Caden Cleary yet to play a game, Rhett Bazzo yet to play a game. He brought them in at the time to get those points, points from reserves is like a loophole, but with them not playing games, I don't know if those players are going to start getting points. We'll have to wait and see. And also Lucas Camporali, I think he'll come back for the Blues this week, but that is another player who's not gaining anything at the moment. But finally, in the AFL Fantasy Review, of course, we need to take a look at our league ladder. Had a lot of people join up at the start of the year. I think we had over 80 people. And at the moment, the guy who in round one was up the top is still on top of our league. Pub Feed with Sauce had a decent week this week. He scored 1,841, so not too bad. He's still on top of our league by 60 points, it seems, on D's 1,008. Scored 2,004. Really good score on this week. I felt like a lot of teams would have struggled, so he did quite well. Looking at it, my brother has dropped down from, I think he was in 4th last week. He is in 12th this week with not the greatest score of all. I only scored 17 more points than him, and I have dropped as well. I dropped from, I think I was in about 23rd, 24th. I've dropped down to 29th at the moment. So a little bit, couple of drops this week. Wasn't a really good week for AFL Fantasy. I think with the captain call, I should have just taken McRae as a vice captain. So I think now I'm going to be pretty certain, unless it's an absolutely easy game against maybe a Richmond or a West Coast, I'm going to take a score over 110. I should have taken McRae's, but I kind of got greedy. But guys, that's basically the review for round 3 of AFL Fantasy.